There is a spider somewhere near you right now. Not in a forest. Not in a documentary. In your home. It weighs less than a grain of rice, and yet it can manufacture materials stronger than steel, calculate trajectories faster than a supercomputer, and walk across ceilings using forces that operate at the level of atoms. And here's the disturbing part. We still don't fully understand how it does any of this. That spider is not simple. It is not primitive. And it is not operating by the rules we think life should follow. It uses hydraulics instead of muscles. It senses the world through vibrations smaller than light itself. It builds structures using mathematics humans only discovered in the last century. And it does all of this with a brain smaller than the head of a pin. The deeper scientists look, the more uncomfortable the truth becomes. Spiders don't just survive. They violate expectations. They blur the line between instinct and intelligence, between machine and organism, between chemistry and consciousness. And the more we learn about them, the more it seems like they shouldn't exist like this at all. That spider is performing feats of engineering that would be impossible for any human construction. It's processing information faster than our most advanced computers. It's manufacturing materials stronger than steel using nothing but the proteins in its body. And it's doing all of this with a brain smaller than a pinhead. The more we study spiders, the more we discover that they shouldn't exist, at least, not in the way they do. Their abilities push the boundaries of physics, chemistry, and biology to limits that seem impossible for such small creatures. They are living contradictions, beings that appear simple but conceal complexity that we're only beginning to understand. Today, we'll journey through the hidden world of arachnid existence, from the mechanical impossibilities of their movement to the chemical mysteries of their silk, from their alien sensory systems to their behaviors that hint at forms of intelligence we can barely comprehend. Each layer we explore will reveal creatures that operate by rules so different from our own that they might as well be visitors from another planet. Watch that spider move across your ceiling. 8 legs carrying a body that defies gravity itself, walking upside down as easily as you walk across flat ground. This isn't magic, it's physics pushed to its absolute limits. Each of those hair-like structures on the spider's feet, called setae, splits into even smaller branches, creating contact points with surfaces at the molecular level. We're talking about forces measured in nanonewtons, adhesive powers that work through quantum mechanical principles called van der Waals forces. The spider is literally using the electromagnetic attraction between atoms to stick to any surface in the universe. But here's what makes it truly impossible: the spider can turn this adhesion on and off at will. Watch its legs as it moves. Each foot must stick firmly enough to support the spider's weight, then release instantly to allow the next step. This requires molecular control of adhesive forces that our most advanced laboratories can barely replicate. And yet, the spider accomplishes this with no conscious thought, using leg muscles that are hydraulically powered rather than electrically controlled like our own. Each spider leg is essentially a biological hydraulic system, powered by fluid pressure that can change instantly, allowing movements so fast they blur to human vision. Consider the jumping spider, which can leap distances 40 times its own body length. This would be equivalent to a human jumping the length of a football field. But unlike human movement, which relies on explosive muscle contractions, the jumping spider uses hydraulic pressure to catapult itself through the air with mathematical precision, calculating trajectory, wind resistance, and landing angle in milliseconds. The spider's nervous system processes these calculations using neurons that fire at rates approaching the theoretical limits of biological computation. And yet, scientists still cannot fully explain how such complex calculations are performed by such simple neural networks. Step outside and look for a spider web. What you're seeing is quite possibly the most sophisticated construction project on Earth, built by a creature with no blueprints, no tools, and no conscious understanding of the engineering principles it's employing. That web represents a convergence of chemistry, physics, and mathematics that would challenge our greatest minds. The silk itself is a protein polymer with mechanical properties that surpass any synthetic material we've created. Stronger than steel by weight, more elastic than rubber, tougher than Kevlar, and the spider produces it at room temperature using nothing but water and the amino acids in its body. Each web is actually multiple types of silk, each with different properties optimized for specific functions. The frame threads that anchor the web can support tremendous loads. The capture spiral contains microscopic glue droplets that function as molecular mousetraps. The signal threads transmit vibrations with such precision that the spider can distinguish between the struggling of trapped prey, the courtship taps of a potential mate, and the wind moving through the web. But perhaps most impossible of all is how the spider knows where to place each strand. It begins construction in complete darkness, yet somehow creates a geometric masterpiece that distributes stress perfectly across the entire structure. The mathematical precision of web architecture follows principles of tensioned engineering that human architects only discovered in the last century. And yet, no two webs are identical. Each spider improvises, adapts to its specific location, compensates for obstacles and irregularities in ways that suggest not just instinct, but active problem solving. Watch a spider repair a damaged web, and you'll see it assess the damage, calculate the minimum repairs needed, and execute a construction plan that restores the web's function with remarkable efficiency. What we still don't understand is how this architectural knowledge is encoded in the spider's genetic programming. How does DNA contain the information necessary to build such complex, adaptive structures? The answer remains one of biology's deepest mysteries. Close your eyes and imagine experiencing the world as a spider does. Forget everything you know about sight, sound, and touch. The spider exists in a sensory universe so different from our own that it might as well inhabit a parallel dimension. Most spiders barely use vision as we understand it. Instead, they live in a world of vibrations, mechanical waves traveling through air, water, and solid surfaces, carrying information with extraordinary precision. A spider sitting in the center of its web can detect the landing of a fly from the quality of vibrations transmitted through silk strands. Not just that something has landed, but what kind of creature it is, how large it is, whether it's struggling or moving deliberately. This isn't just sensitivity, it's signal processing of staggering sophistication. The spider's body acts as a living seismograph, detecting vibrations measured in nanometers, movements smaller than the wavelength of visible light. Hair-like organs called trichobothria can detect air movements caused by approaching predators or prey from distances that seem impossible given the spider's size. But some spiders have evolved sensory abilities that venture into the realm of science fiction. The net-casting spider creates a web, then holds it like a net while hanging upside down. It can detect the approaching footsteps of prey walking on the ground below, not through vision, but through acoustic sensing so precise it can triangulate the exact position of a moving insect in three-dimensional space. Even more mysterious are the spiders that can sense the Earth's magnetic field, using this information for navigation across distances that dwarf their tiny bodies. How does a creature with a nervous system containing only a few 100,000 neurons process magnetic field data in real time? We simply don't know. And yet, perhaps the most alien aspect of spider perception is their relationship with time. A spider can sit motionless for hours, then react to prey with movements measured in milliseconds. Their perception appears to operate on multiple time scales simultaneously, capable of infinite patience and lightning-fast response within the same sensory framework. The spider's sensory world challenges our basic assumptions about consciousness and awareness. Are they experiencing something we could call perception in the way we understand it? Or are they operating through forms of information processing so different from our own that the comparison becomes meaningless? Peer closer at that spider, and you'll discover that it's not just a predator, it's a walking chemical laboratory, producing compounds with effects so precise they seem designed by an advanced alien intelligence. Spider venom isn't simply poison. It's a cocktail of hundreds of different compounds, each targeting specific aspects of prey physiology with surgical precision. Some venoms paralyze by blocking nerve signals. Others dissolve tissue from the inside out, essentially predigesting prey while it's still alive. Still others contain compounds that prevent blood clotting, ensuring that prey bleeds out even from tiny bite wounds. But here's what makes spider venoms truly impossible: they're custom designed for each spider-specific prey. Spiders that hunt insects have venoms optimized for insect physiology. Spiders that specialize in other spiders produce compounds that work specifically against arachnid nervous systems. Some bird spiders have evolved venoms that affect vertebrate nervous systems in ways we're only beginning to understand. The Sydney funnel-web spider produces a venom component that's specifically lethal to primates, a compound that barely affects its natural prey but can kill a human in less than an hour. Why would evolution create such specificity? Scientists suspect it might be an accident of biochemistry, a side effect of targeting specific ion channels that happen to be similar between insects and mammals. And yet, venom is only one aspect of the spider's chemical mastery. They also produce pheromones, chemical messages that can travel for miles, carrying information about species, sex, reproductive status, and territorial claims. Male spiders can follow these chemical trails with precision that rivals our most sensitive analytical instruments. Some spiders take chemical manipulation even further. Bolas spiders produce synthetic moth pheromones, essentially creating chemical lures that mimic the mating calls of their prey. They're chemical forgers, copying the molecular signatures of other species to deceive them into flying within striking range. But perhaps the most mysterious aspect of spider chemistry is their ability to synthesize these compounds on demand. A spider's silk glands can switch between producing different types of silk almost instantly. Their venom glands can modify their chemical output based on the type of prey they encounter. This suggests a level of biochemical control that we can barely comprehend, let alone replicate. The spider is essentially a biological factory, capable of producing materials and chemicals with properties that our most advanced technology cannot match. And it does this using genetic programming that fits into a genome smaller than many single-celled organisms. Most spiders live solitary lives, encountering others of their kind only to mate, often with fatal consequences for the male. But some species have evolved social behaviors so complex they challenge everything we think we know about intelligence, cooperation, and collective decision-making in simple creatures. In the tropical forests, you can find colonies of social spiders, hundreds or sometimes thousands of individuals living together in communal webs that can span entire trees. These aren't just aggregations of individual spiders, they're functioning societies with division of labor, collective hunting strategies, and cooperative brood care. Watch a social spider colony capture prey, and you'll witness coordination that seems impossible given their simple nervous systems. When large prey becomes trapped in a communal web, spiders emerge from throughout the structure, converging on the victim with perfect timing. Some individuals secure the prey while others begin wrapping. Still others position themselves to defend against the prey's struggling or to prevent its escape. This isn't random mobbing behavior. It's organized cooperative hunting that requires communication, role assignment, and strategic thinking. And yet, each spider has a brain containing perhaps 100,000 neurons, roughly equivalent to a large insect. How does such complex social behavior emerge from such simple individual cognitive systems? Even more mysterious is how these colonies make collective decisions. When the web becomes too crowded or resources become scarce, the colony will split, with some individuals leaving to establish new colonies. But this isn't random dispersal, it's coordinated group movement that suggests the colony is functioning as a single decision-making entity. Some social spiders exhibit what can only be called cultural transmission, learned behaviors that pass from one generation to the next through observation and imitation rather than genetic programming. Young spiders learn hunting techniques, web construction methods, and social protocols by watching their elders. This suggests a capacity for learning and cultural evolution that we traditionally associate with much larger, more complex brains. But perhaps the most impossible aspect of social spiders is their ability to cooperate despite their predatory nature. These are creatures whose instinct is to kill and consume other arthropods, yet they've somehow overcome this programming to live peacefully with hundreds of their own kind. How does evolution overcome such fundamental behavioral constraints? And yet, we still don't understand the mechanisms that maintain social cohesion in spider colonies. What prevents them from descending into cannibalistic chaos? How do they recognize colony members versus outsiders? How do they resolve conflicts over resources or mates? These questions remain largely unanswered, leaving us to marvel at societies that function through principles we cannot fully comprehend. Consider the lifespan of a spider, typically measured in months, sometimes years for the largest species. From our perspective, this seems brief, almost insignificant. But time moves differently in the world of the arachnid, and their relationship with temporal existence reveals patterns that challenge our understanding of life itself. A spider's life unfolds according to rhythms that operate on multiple scales simultaneously. Daily cycles of hunting and hiding. Weekly patterns of web construction and repair. Seasonal migrations and reproductive cycles. But underlying these familiar rhythms are temporal patterns that seem to operate outside our normal understanding of biological time. Some spiders can enter states of suspended animation that last for months, slowing their metabolism to levels that barely register as life. During these periods, they become almost immortal, immune to starvation, temperature extremes, and even some forms of physical damage. They exist in a state between life and death, waiting for conditions that trigger their return to active existence. Others live their entire lives synchronized to environmental cycles so subtle that we can barely detect them. Desert spiders emerge from underground burrows only during brief periods when humidity, temperature, and barometric pressure create perfect hunting conditions, windows of opportunity that might last only a few hours per month. But perhaps the most mysterious aspect of spider temporality is their ability to predict the future. Many species begin preparing for seasonal changes weeks before any environmental cues suggest such changes are coming. They start storing fat reserves before winter, begin reproductive behaviors before environmental conditions become favorable, construct shelters before storms that won't arrive for days. This suggests that spiders are processing temporal information in ways we don't understand. Are they detecting environmental patterns too subtle for our instruments? Are they responding to biological clocks of extraordinary precision? Or do they possess some form of temporal perception that operates outside our current scientific understanding? The evolutionary timescales of spider development add another layer to the mystery. Spiders have remained essentially unchanged for over 300 million years, surviving mass extinctions that eliminated countless other lineages, adapting to every environment on Earth except the polar ice caps and the open ocean. Their basic body plan and behavioral patterns have proven so successful that evolution has barely modified them since before the dinosaurs existed. And yet, within this ancient stability, spiders continue to diversify at rates that suggest rapid evolutionary innovation. New species are discovered regularly, many with adaptations so specialized they seem designed for conditions that have existed for only a few thousand years. How does such evolutionary stability coexist with such rapid diversification? We return now to that spider in the corner of your room. It hasn't moved for the past hour, but its position has changed subtly. Not randomly, deliberately. It's shifted to a location with better access to potential prey paths, improved escape routes, and optimal camouflage. This isn't instinct. This is decision-making. Watch a jumping spider hunt, and you'll witness behavior that suggests something disturbingly close to what we might call thought. It stalks its prey with patience that can last for hours, adjusting its approach based on the victim's movements, taking detours to approach from blind spots, even abandoning attacks that seem unfavorable and returning later when conditions improve. This is planning. It's problem-solving. It's adaptable, flexible behavior that suggests the spider is modeling its environment in real time, predicting outcomes, and choosing between alternatives. But how is this possible with a nervous system that could fit on the head of a pin? Recent research has revealed that jumping spiders can learn to navigate mazes, solve puzzles, and even recognize individual humans. They form memories that persist for weeks. They can be trained to associate colors with rewards or punishments. They exhibit what can only be called personalities, individual differences in behavior that remain consistent across time and situations. But perhaps most disturbing of all, some spiders appear to dream. During rest periods, their eyes move in patterns remarkably similar to REM sleep in mammals. Their legs twitch as if they're practicing hunting movements. Brain activity patterns suggest neural processing that might be analogous to memory consolidation, the formation of long-term memories from short-term experiences. If spiders dream, what do they dream about? The question seems absurd until you consider that dreaming serves specific cognitive functions in complex animals, consolidating memories, processing experiences, preparing for future challenges. If spiders exhibit similar neural activity patterns, they might be engaging in similar cognitive processes. This raises profound questions about the nature of consciousness itself. If awareness, decision-making, and subjective experience can emerge from nervous systems as simple as a spider's, what does this tell us about the minimal requirements for consciousness? Are we witnessing the emergence of proto-consciousness in creatures we've traditionally considered biological robots? And yet, we cannot know what it's like to be a spider. Their sensory world is so different from ours, their neural architecture so alien, their relationship with time and space so foreign, that any attempt to understand their subjective experience becomes an exercise in speculation. We can observe their behaviors, measure their neural activity, document their learning and memory formation, but the inner experience of spider existence remains completely beyond our reach. Step back and consider the spider not as an individual creature, but as a product of deep time, a living representative of evolutionary experiments that have been running for hundreds of millions of years. What you'll discover is that spiders present puzzles that challenge our understanding of how evolution itself works. The spider body plan is ancient beyond comprehension. While mammals were diversifying, while birds were evolving flight, while flowering plants were revolutionizing terrestrial ecosystems, spiders remained fundamentally unchanged. 8 legs, segmented bodies, silk-producing spinnerets, venomous fangs, these features have persisted across geological eras that saw the rise and fall of entire evolutionary dynasties. This suggests that spiders achieved something close to evolutionary perfection hundreds of millions of years ago. But perfection for what? The answer seems to be adaptability itself. The spider body plan is a platform for endless variation, a basic architecture that can be modified for any environment, any prey, any lifestyle, without requiring fundamental changes to the underlying design. Desert spiders that hunt by detecting vibrations in sand. Arctic spiders that survive being frozen solid for months. Cave spiders that live in absolute darkness for their entire lives. Aquatic spiders that build air-filled diving bells underwater. Each represents a different solution to environmental challenges, but all using the same basic arachnid toolkit. But here's the evolutionary paradox: while the spider body plan has remained stable, spider behavior continues to evolve at rates that suggest rapid neural and cognitive development. We're witnessing the evolution of intelligence in creatures that have looked essentially identical for geological ages. Some spider species have evolved behaviors within historical time frames, adaptations to human-modified environments that have appeared within decades rather than millennia. Urban spiders that hunt around artificial lights, using human technology to create new ecological niches. Agricultural spiders that have learned to exploit crop pest cycles, timing their reproduction to coincide with predictable insect outbreaks. This suggests that spider nervous systems possess evolutionary flexibility that operates independently of their physical form. They can develop new cognitive capacities, new behavioral repertoires, new forms of environmental interaction without requiring changes to their basic anatomy. And yet, we still don't understand how this is possible. Evolution typically requires trade-offs, improvements in one area balanced by limitations in another. But spiders seem to have found ways to evolve cognitively without sacrificing the physical adaptations that have made them successful for hundreds of millions of years. Perhaps most mysterious of all is the question of evolutionary direction. Are spiders becoming more intelligent over time? Are we witnessing the early stages of arachnid consciousness evolution? Or have they already reached cognitive plateaus that we're only beginning to recognize? That spider in the corner of your room continues its patient vigil. It will wait there for hours, days perhaps, operating according to principles we can observe but cannot fully understand. It embodies mysteries that span from quantum mechanics to consciousness, from evolutionary biology to the nature of time itself. We've journeyed through the impossible physics of their movement, the alien mathematics of their architecture, the chemical sophistication of their venoms and silks. We've explored sensory worlds that operate outside human perception, social behaviors that challenge our assumptions about intelligence, temporal patterns that suggest forms of awareness we can barely imagine. And yet, for all our scientific investigation, spiders remain fundamentally alien to us. They exist in our world but operate by rules so different from our own that they might as well be visitors from another planet. Every answer we find leads to new questions, deeper mysteries, more profound uncertainties about the nature of life itself. Perhaps this is the most important lesson spiders teach us, that complexity and sophistication can emerge from the simplest foundations, that intelligence and awareness might take forms we're only beginning to recognize, that our planet harbors forms of existence that remain largely beyond our understanding. The spider represents one of evolution's most successful experiments, a creature that has found solutions to problems we didn't even know existed, using methods we can barely comprehend. It reminds us that life is far stranger, far more creative, and far more mysterious than our human-centered perspective typically allows us to imagine. In our age of technological mastery, when we believe we've mapped and measured most of the natural world, spiders persist as reminders of how much we still don't know. They are living questions rather than answers, beings whose existence challenges our basic assumptions about consciousness, intelligence, and the possibilities of life itself. That tiny predator in your room carries within its pinhead-sized nervous system secrets that could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness, engineering, chemistry, and evolution. It represents one of the great unsolved puzzles of biology, a creature that shouldn't exist as it does, yet does exist, thriving in ways that continue to mystify our most advanced scientific investigation. The spider asks us to remain humble in the face of complexity we can observe but not fully explain, to stay curious about phenomena that operate just beyond the edges of our understanding, and to remember that we share this planet with beings whose inner lives and capabilities might be as rich and strange as anything we could ever imagine. In the end, spiders shouldn't exist like this. But they do. And their existence reminds us that reality is far more mysterious than we typically dare to believe.